we are back for a Week 17 preview for the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings will travel to Green Bay to take on the Green Bay Packers, the 12-3 Green Bay Packers, on Sunday Night Football, 7:20 Central Time on NBC. The Green Bay Packers are 6.5-point favorites in this matchup. Huge differential right there. But Vikings, 12-5 Green Bay Packers, arch rival, traveling to them to play primetime. Not only are you traveling to them to play on primetime, but you're traveling to Lambeau Field to play January weather on primetime. Vikings, we can come up with a win here. And Vikings, this is a must win for the Vikings. A must win for the Vikings. Because if the Vikings want to make the playoffs, they will have to win out. I just don't see a scenario where the Vikings can be 1-1 going forward the next 2 weeks and somehow make the playoffs with a losing record. It's just not going to happen. You have to get a winning record in the NFC if you want to make the playoffs. If the Vikings do make the playoffs, they will have to win their next upcoming matchups. That will be both this week against the Green Bay Packers and next week against the Chicago Bears. And we will have to see the Philadelphia Eagles lose one of their upcoming 2 matchups. So they have 2 matchups. Both are pretty tough for them. They play Washington this week and they'll play Dallas after that. If the Vikings do win out, though, I see a good over 50% chance the Vikings make the playoffs as a 7th seed. But not only if the Vikings make the playoffs by winning this game and winning the next week, but you can be holding the Green Bay Packers back. Right now, the Packers have the 1 seed in the NFC with a 12-3 record. However, there are 3 other division winners or expected to be division winners with an 11-4 record. Those 4 teams are the Cowboys, the Rams, and the Bucks. So if the Vikings win this game, maybe we see someone else take that 1 seed. Maybe we see someone else get a first-round bye. It's not only the Vikings winning if they win this week, it's holding the Green Bay Packers from winning a Super Bowl, and that's more important for this Vikings team. However, you gotta take a look at this, though. It doesn't look very likely with this Vikings team. It doesn't. The Packers are tough, and they are 7-0 at home this season. They have not lost a single home game yet this season. Aaron Rodgers, somehow into his 40s, is in the MVP conversation. And then you look at it as a whole, their offense is dominant, and their defense is a huge upgrade from last year. However, Vikings have 2 straight wins against the Packers. Why do they have 2 straight wins against the Packers? Because I feel like we play the best when we play the Packers. When you look at this season, we have so many bad games this season. So many terrible games that come to mind right now. 2 bad ones against the Lions, both games against the Lions actually, and against the Cowboys. If you look at it, we have 2 good games that I can think of against the Packers and against the Chargers. If we bring the right playbook to this matchup, even though it's an away game, January weather, in Lambeau Field, on prime time, Vikings can come up with a win. And that's what we're going to talk about on today's episode of Morning Kickoff. You take a look at Sunday night weather in Green Bay. It's looking like 8 degrees and 6 miles per hour wind. So actually not as bad as we thought. I mean, 8 degrees is awful, 6 miles per hour wind. But again, it's not the worst weather we've played the Packers in. We played them in much worse weather than that. And last year, we beat the Packers at Lambeau Field in terrible weather as well. So you take a look at the Thursday injury report for the Minnesota Vikings team. Since our last edition of Morning Kickoff, we have 2 players who have been placed on IR. Those 2 players are Adam Thielen, has been placed on IR with an ankle injury and will miss the remainder of the season and postseason if the Vikings make the playoffs. Mason Cole, who started both at center and right guard this season, has also been placed on IR with an elbow injury and will likely not play the remainder of the season. We have 5 players who've been added to the COVID reserve list. Like I say every week on this podcast, Vikings just continue. COVID just runs through our locker room left and right, and we have 5 players who've been added on the COVID reserve list. Those 5 players are backup left tackle Rashad Hill, starting right guard Oli Udoh, veteran backup quarterback Sean Mannion, starting linebacker Nick Vigil, and starting defensive end Patrick Jones. So, not the worst players to be added to the COVID reserve list. I mean, you look at it, though. Oli Udoh's added to the reserve list. Mason Cole is out for the rest of the season. Rashad Hill is added to the COVID reserve list. What I'm leading up to right here is that we're going to see Wyatt Davis start at right guard. And this is something this is huge. This is massive. You guys, one thing to watch for in this matchup is how Wyatt Davis looks at right guard. Wyatt Davis, 3rd-round draft pick out of the Ohio State, is the best right guard who came into the 2021 draft class. Vikings drafted him in the 3rd round to be our starting right guard by the end of the season. However, he hasn't been because we've felt like we should start Oli Udo, Mason Cole, these other players who have all looked bad at right guard. Vikings are just cursed at the right guard position, but maybe Wyatt Davis can break that curse, and we'll see that in this matchup. Patrick Jones is out. I mean, it's okay. We have Sheldon Richardson. Nick Vigil's out. We have Blake Lynch. Like, we have players who can step in for all these players. Sean Mannion's another player who Vikings signed, brought back Kyle Sloter. Slaughterhouse is back in purple and gold. Love to see that. However, I just don't understand why the Vikings needed to bring him back. I mean, you have Kellen Mond. You have a dual threat quarterback sitting on your bench. You don't need to bring him in the first place, even if Sean Mannion is on the COVID reserve list. Outside of that, Cam Dantzler, starting corner, did not participate during Wednesday's practice with a calf injury. Huge loss. I really hope the Vikings. It's Cam Dantzler being Vikings are so thin at the cornerback position. This is brutal to see. If Dantzler doesn't play in this game, obviously you have Patrick Peterson on Devontae Adams. Outside of that, Mackenzie Alexander on Alan Lazard. They also have MVS. I mean, what I hope the Vikings do here is not start Harrison Hand or Chris Boyd. I hope that the Vikings will, if Dantzler misses this game, I hope the Vikings play Patrick Peterson and Mackenzie Alexander and then play Cam Bynum as a nickelback. Cam Bynum is a converted safety out of Cal and has played safety with our team so far this season. However, he's a converted safety, so he should be able to play corner as well. Tyler Conklin was also a limited participant with a hamstring injury. You take a look at some Packers notable injuries. So 3 players on the Packers team have been added to the COVID reserve list. Those 3 players are backup tight end, veteran tight end. He's been in the league a long time. Mercedes Lewis, wide receiver Amari Rogers, and defensive end, starting defensive end, Kingsley Keke. So, wow. With that, though, Mercedes Lewis is not a huge loss on the team, but again, they're very thin at the tight end position, so he gets a lot of play time. Amari Rogers is mainly a kick and punt returner on their team, doesn't see a lot of offensive snaps, so I don't know who's going to start at kick and punt return for their team. I hope this Vikings defensive or special teams can step up, though. Kingsley Keke is a player who stepped in at defensive end as an edge rusher for them as well. But huge comeback on their team. Jair Alexander has returned to practice as a limited participant with a shoulder injury, so that is huge for them. Jair Alexander is one of the best corners in the NFL, and now they're going up against a Vikings team with Justin Jefferson. Now they don't have Adam Thielen, which sucks, but Justin Jefferson, obviously top 3 wide receiver in the league. So Jair is a huge comeback for their team and will likely start over Kevin King. If the Packers are smart, they will bench Kevin King and play Eric Stokes alongside Jair. And then starting left tackle, all pro left tackle, David Bakhtiari did not participate all week with a knee injury. So Bakhtiari is just made of glass. I mean, it feels like every time we play the Packers, he's not there. And I'm totally fine with that because he's one of the best left tackles in football. So hopefully our defensive end, maybe DJ Wanham, Sheldon Richardson, these players can step up, whoever is going to be starting at left tackle for them. Aaron Jones was a limited participant with a knee injury. Aaron Rodgers did not participate all week with a toe injury. Aaron Rodgers is going to play every week. He doesn't practice with a toe injury. This stupid excuse he uses so he doesn't have to practice. Starting right tackle Billy Turner did not participate as well with a knee injury. So both of their starting left tackles were both not participating or were limited during practice. So maybe we see us getting to Aaron Rodgers a little bit more. Maybe we move him around the field a little bit more. Oh no, he got a toe injury. He's not going to be able to run. You take a look at, though, Minnesota Vikings going to Green Bay to take on the Packers Sunday Night Football. How will the Vikings have to win this game? This is a must-win for the Minnesota Vikings. And honestly, I don't think anyone wants to win this game more than Mike Zimmer. Well, I can't say that very confidently, because I don't think Mike Zimmer wants to win any game. If he did, he wouldn't be calling this stupid playbook he's been calling all year so far. Same goes for Clint Kubiak. But Mike Zimmer's game is on the line. He is on the hot seat. Clint Kubiak's on the hot seat. Shoot. Kirk Cousins on the hot seat right now as well. He's playing for a new contract extension. Huge game for all of these players and all of these coaches. This game defines an era. And going into this matchup, it really comes to show there's a lot to watch for. More than just the Vikings playing this game, because this game will define an era. Vikings will have to win out and have to make a Super Bowl run out of it. That's not going to happen if Mike Zimmer wants to keep his job. And this is his final chance to prove himself, because he will have to win this game. He will have to win against the Bears. And going on the road in the playoffs, I mean, Vikings have a Super Bowl roster, but again, it's not going to happen. We just know it's not going to happen, even though our roster is a lot better than our records says that we are. But so how do you stop the Packers? First of all, blitz Rodgers all game long. This is what the Vikings will have to do, because our defensive front struggles at getting to the passer. The only time we can rush the passer is off of the blitz. Now we're going into this matchup with Without Nick Vigil, we're going into this matchup without Patrick Jones. It's totally fine because we have Blake Lynch who can step up. He stepped in for Anthony Barr's injury. We have Anthony Barr obviously on our team. We have excellent safety group. We can even do some cornerback blitz in there as well. We have to be able to blitz, move Aaron Rodgers around the field because Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to pass all over us. I don't want to see any more Mike Zimmer three-man rush. The three-man rush for the Minnesota Vikings is dead. That was 4 years ago when you had Linval Joseph, Everson Griffin, and Danielle Hunter up front. That is an excellent three-man rush. Minnesota Vikings don't have the same defensive front they had 2 years ago. As a matter of fact, we don't have the same defensive front that we started the season with. We cannot get to the passer without blitzing. Danielle Hunter is on IR. He's out the rest of the season. Everson Griffin is out the rest of the season. We don't know what's happening with Griffin. You take a look at our defensive front. You have to blitz. You have to blitz all game long because these guys are not going to get to them. Sheldon Richardson, Dalvin Tomlinson, Michael Pierce. Aaron Rodgers runs faster than all of those players. You have to be able to get to the passer off of the blitz game. And one player who comes to mind specifically is Anthony Barr. Anthony Barr is an edge rusher, and the Minnesota Vikings have to realize that because they haven't been using him as such the last 3 seasons. The reason why Anthony Barr made as many Pro Bowls as he did, was all pro in his previous seasons, was because the Vikings used him as an edge rusher. As a matter of fact, he's the player who knocked Uh-oh. Well, breaking news. I just got it on my phone. Kirk Cousins tests positive for COVID. Well, good thing that came up now, and I didn't see that after I was done recording this podcast. That is huge because Minnesota Vikings, now who are we going to see start? If Kirk Cousins tests positive for COVID, which he did, he can't play in this matchup. Oh, no. Do we see Kellen Mond start in this matchup? Do we see Kyle Sloter start in this matchup because Sean Mannion is also out? That is huge. Okay, well, this just changes everything because now that Kirk Cousins tests positive, our entire playbook is different. Wow, Vikings can't win this matchup anymore. I don't see a scenario where the Vikings can, unless if they run the ball as well as they did against the Packers last year. Do we see Kellen Mond start? Please start Kellen Mond and not Kyle Sloter. I love Kyle Sloter, but I really want Kellen Mond to start in this matchup. He's a dual threat quarterback out of Texas A&M, and the Texas A&M quarterback in Kellen Mond is what we want to see, not the preseason Kellen Mond that we saw in this year. Wow, that is huge on this Vikings team. Gosh, COVID just continues to run through our locker room. Now our star quarterback tests positive for COVID. Okay. Vikings, this just became a lot harder of a game to win now that we don't have Kirk Cousins on our team. So, this is brutal. Kellen Mond is probably going to start at quarterback. Kyle Sloter, although Kellen Mond is unvaccinated, maybe he got it too. Oh no, this is brutal because now we have to be able to pass. We have to be able to pass the ball against the Packers. We can't run the ball all game because it's going to go into a shootout. Okay. I still think the Vikings can win, but it'll have to be a ground and pound game. The Vikings will have to run the ball over 30 times in this matchup, and that's huge. Vikings will have to run the ball over 30 times in this matchup and have to get at least 160 rushing yards in order for the Vikings to win this game. That's 160 rushing yards and a few touchdowns, obviously, in there as well. Not only that, but the Vikings defense will have to come up strong, which is honestly very possible. We saw how the Vikings defense played against the Rams. We saw how we played against the Chargers. I mean, our Vikings defense has come up huge this year in some games. I mean, as a whole, our Vikings defense has been terrible and one of the worst in the NFL. But there's been a few good games, and maybe if we just come with that same performance against the Packers, we can see a win. I mean, we beat the Packers last year because DJ Wanham had a strip sack and I think it was Anthony Barr recovered it on the final play of the game. That's the Vikings defense we need to see. A Vikings defense that can be able to get to Aaron Rodgers and force him to make mistakes because Rodgers does make mistakes. I know he's an MVP Rodgers and he's playing like is one of his best career years so far this season. However, you look at it as a whole, the Vikings can force mistakes on him. If you just double team Devontae Adams, Rodgers will likely still force that ball into double coverage. He will. He will because he doesn't have his tight ends to rely on. Big Bob Tunyon's not playing. Mercedes Lewis is not playing. They got some no-name tight end starting at tight end right now. Not sure quite how he's going to play against our Vikings defense. I guess we make every opposing player look good, so maybe he is a lot better than maybe I'm underestimating him right now. But I think the Vikings defense can come up huge. If we just get, we'll have to get like 3-4 turnovers, something very lucky, maybe a kick return touchdown, blocked punt return for a touchdown in order for the Vikings to win this game. So I'm going to switch my prediction a little bit. So I'm keeping the same bold prediction of the week. This just came by a surprise. Keeping the same bold prediction of the week, I do believe the Vikings will get 3.5 sacks or 3 sacks or more against the Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers off of blitzing. So Vikings will have to blitz all game if they want to beat the Packers. It's going to have to be a huge matchup for our Vikings defense in order to beat the Packers. It's going to be a hard game going in an away game against the Packers and beating them, but we'll have to beat them through defense and through ground and pound football. Oh, losing Kirk Cousins is massive on our Vikings team. This is going to be hard, but Kellen Mond might be a pleasant surprise. I mean, my expectations for Mond are so low, though. But maybe he purposely played bad in the preseason to set our expectations low. No, he didn't. But again, maybe we see the Kellen Mond we saw at Texas A&M, the Kellen Mond that can throw 4 touchdowns and run for 3 in the same game. Hopefully we see that Kellen Mond play. But I'm going to mix up my final prediction now that Kirk Cousins tested positive for COVID. This was my prediction, 31-27. I did predict the Vikings to win this game by 4 points. We're going to miss that prediction. We're going to predict the Vikings to actually lose this game. We're going to go 27-20. It's tough to see how the Vikings would be. If the Vikings win this game, they'll have to get like 4 turnovers or something nuts. Our Vikings defense would have to come up huge. The Packers offense would not have to be able to play as good as they've been playing this season. We'll have to see something crazy happen if the Vikings do win this game. But, that's so brutal to see Kirk Cousins get test positive for COVID. Now the Vikings are likely not going to win this matchup, but that's okay. You know why that's okay? Because all in all, you look at it, I mostly wanted to beat the Green Bay Packers because it's the Green Bay Packers. Vikings making the playoffs, it doesn't technically matter. Because Vikings will make the playoffs, get a bad draft pick, lose out, be an easy out or one and done in the playoffs, and then look to a rebuilding phase with a bad draft pick. I'd rather get a little bit better of a draft pick and look to a rebuilding phase because that's the best case scenario for this Vikings team right now. However, I still want to see my Vikings beat the Packers because it always feels good to beat the Packers. And we have 2 straight wins against the Packers. I know they beat us in history. Overall, their record against us is better than our record against them. However, hopefully we can get 3 wins in a row. But let me know what y'all think.